Hey, thanks for joining us on Alberta Skylights YouTube channel. My name is Trevor, and I'm here with Ryan, and he is the owner, operator, the man in charge at Alberta Skylights, and he is a Velux skylight specialist.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing this for again? I forgot.
About 12 years.
So 12 years, a good dozen. That's a long time to be doing skylights and sun tunnels and the various things that you do. So this week, I wanted to talk to you about a job that you had done this week, and maybe just walk us through the problem that the client was having and how you guys came in and saved the day.
Sure, absolutely. So the situation that we encountered this week, we went onto a home where the lady had two old skylights she tried getting replaced about 2.5 years ago, and some roofers had come in. They started taking everything apart, told her they knew what they were doing, took it apart. They literally got the glass off of the skylights and realized they didn't know what they were doing. And rather than try and fix it, they just put plywood on it, tarped it off, and said, sorry, we can't help you, and left her there for 2.5 years. So her pantry and her kitchen both sitting with a sheet of plywood over there.
Oh my goodness. And she didn't try calling anybody else to come and fix this?
Not really sure what her process was for finding someone, but she told us it was about 2 years before she got a hold of us, somebody who could actually fix it for her. Nobody else really knew what they were looking at. So
okay, so what kind of problems did you see when you got up on the roof?
The roofing itself was actually not in terrible shape. There was a couple of small roof repairs we did while we were there. We have some really good videos of it on our Facebook page. When we took it apart, there was rotted wood everywhere. We ended up replacing a bunch of that. Pretty much the entire system had to come apart and get redone.
Okay. Now, when you say replace the system, maybe for the people who don't know what the heck we're talking about, what does that mean?
So skylights come in two different versions. There's what's called a curb-mounted skylight and a deck-mounted skylight. In the curb-mounted skylight, there's a wooden box that stays on your roof at all times. The skylight sits on top of that. With a deck-mounted skylight, what ends up happening is the skylight itself is that curb. They're a lot more energy efficient. They're a little sleeker. They sit on the roof a little nicer.
Okay.
What this customer had was deck-mounted skylights, and the roofers didn't know the difference. So they took the glass off, thinking that's how they get it apart, and realized this is just going to keep going. That's where they panicked. So what we ended up doing is we came through, we took all the shingles out, we inspected all the wood there. Like I said, there was a bunch of rot we ended up having to replace in there. We took the old skylights out and we put brand new ones in. She had a really nice cedar ceiling, so we ordered wood grain skylights. It took about 6 weeks to come in, but they're really nice. We can get them stained in there, so it'll match your existing. We put the new one
So
waterproof.
what part is wood grain? Just inside the actual
Absolutely.
Skylight? Okay.
So with the curb-mounted skylight, it sits over top of that wood box. You don't see any of the actual framing of the skylight itself.
Okay.
With the curb mount, you do see the interior finishing. It's finished product. Your drywall, your melamine, it can slide right up into it, make everything nice and finished. Saves a lot of grief when you're doing your finishing work. On her house, all the finishing inside was still good, so we were able to just take the skylights out, put the new ones on top of, and it looks complete right off the hop.
Wild. And how happy was this client when you were done?
She was pretty much beside herself with it. Her comment was, I forgot how much light these things let in. She'd been there in their dark house for a couple of years.
Wow. And so the two rooms that needed the skylights were where again?
Well, her house had a very nice big open concept, sloped vaulted ceiling in there. One was over top of her kitchen bar, and the other was over her pantry. So it pretty much lit up the entire house. This is just the way they were configured with the open design, the open concept.
Okay. And so we were talking just a few minutes ago about, problems that you solve for customers, right? Yeah. So the problem that this person had could be possibly described as, she forgot how bright and wonderful her space looked with the skylights. The reason she got the skylights in the first place, right?
So I'm not entirely sure if she had the skylights before she bought the house, if they were there, or if she had them installed. But regardless of it, she had them before they went dark on her. They were leaking and giving her grief. She just couldn't find somebody to fix them.
Right. And you guys you do replacements?
Absolutely.
Do you do repairs?
Yep. Lots of times we can come in and we can fix your skylight. There's all sorts of things that could be causing the problems there. It could be on the roofing, could be on the skylight itself. We've seen insulation that wasn't sufficient, so we'd have to fix the insulation of the skylight. Well, there could be lots of things that would cause a problem where happy to look at any of them.
Okay, any manufacturer, doesn't matter. You can go in there and pretty much fix it up.
Absolutely. And if we can't fix it, we can find a way of making it right. If it can't be repaired, we can find a way of replacing it.
Okay. And what kind of guarantees do you guys have?
Depending on the products that you end up with, we have a 5-year workmanship warranty from our company. We also have 5 years on any of the electronic components for your skylights. Some skylights have a venting opening system on them. Some have blinds in there. That electronic component has a 5-year warranty on them.
Mm-hmm.
Further, you end up with a 10-year hail breakage warranty. The outer pane on our skylights is tempered glass, very, very strong. The interior pane is laminated.
Okay.
So we have a 10-year hail breakage warranty on the laminated pane. Anything breaks through, it's not coming into your house.
That's good.
And lastly, you have a 20-year warranty on the seals of your skylights. So there's quite a few warranties that come with the package.
Great. So you got 5 years on your workmanship. Is that also on repairs or just new replacements?
On the repairs, it's a little bit of a different story. Usually whenever you get to a repair, there's already other issues that are going on there.
Right.
We do the best we can with what's there. If we have to replace it, it's full warranty.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's best in a lot of cases to just replace it, because you could start repairing something and then another thing could break. Is that
Absolutely.
kind of the idea?
Large part of the reason that we have to do repairs on skylights comes from a situation where the skylight's been on there for 25, 30 years, 20 years, the house was built, and they get the roof replaced. The roofers do not take the skylight off, put all new flashings in there the way they should.
Right.
They just try and go and leave it in place. And 3 years later, the skylight is leaking, and the roofers typically answers, well, skylights always leak. Well, yeah, you didn't do any of the work to make it not leak.
Right.
So more often than not, we find when we get to an install, the skylight should have been replaced a couple, 2-3 years previously.
Right.
We can try and fix it, get you through a situation. We've done that more than once, but more often than not, we just convert them to glass, make it a high quality system.
Right. So do skylights always leak?
Well, when they're installed incorrectly, that's the way of it. They
Yes.
don't leak when they're installed properly. A properly installed skylight will not leak.
Yeah, properly installed skylights don't leak. So that's your job, to properly install skylights so that don't leak. They provide light. They provide, in some cases, airflow and so
ventilation,
forth. Yeah, that's great. So do you have any other stories this week about an installation that you've done, or could be this week or something in the past that really stood out to you?
We actually went out to Pigeon Lake this week to take a look at a different skylight.
Okay.
The roof on that one was 5 years old. It was right on the lake, beautiful scenery, very steep 912 roof. And the homeowner actually was getting bats in through her skylight. How do you get bats through your skylight?
Okay.
So she showed me the bill from her roof. They had replaced the roof. They were supposed to rebuild the skylight curb, the old style, and put a new skylight on. Well, they did put the new skylight on. They just didn't rebuild the curb. So the skylight was about 3 inches bigger all the way around. So 5 years, you can literally reach your hand up and their bats were getting in her house. It was pretty rough. It was so brutal about that one. I literally took that skylight off. I had a factory, not even a custom order, just put it back on and screwed it. That was the end of it. It was a 20-minute fix. 5 years she'd been fighting with that one, trying to get that one fixed.
That's incredible. So what do you say to something like that? Like how do things like this happen? And, how can this be prevented?
Well, she actually got that one done by a fairly reputable roofing contractor. The sad part about a lot of roofing contractors is it's not the roofing contractor that's doing the work. They sub it out.
Oh, okay.
So the contractor might say, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But by the time it goes through his project coordinator and then down to his supplier, and by the time it gets to the roof, the guy who just puts bundles on has no clue about any of it. So he does his best. And unfortunately, roofers aren't often trained in how to do these things properly. I'd have to bet if they were, I wouldn't have a business. So
right. So if they knew how to do the job as prescribed and as per manufacturer's instructions, everything would be okay. But they're not. So lucky for you.
Lucky for me.
You have a business and you can go and help people with bats coming in their house.
Yeah, that was a new one to me. I've never seen bats coming through a skylight before.
Dang, that's crazy. Okay, so that's a cool story. That's what we got for this week. Thanks so much for joining us on the channel. Next week we'll have something cool to talk about. Maybe there'll be ducks coming in the house. I don't know. Something.
That time of year.
It is that time of year. Maybe a goose falls out of the sky and comes through a skylight. Anyways, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you guys on the next video.
Thanks.
That was a good day. Great video.
That was.